should you start an Airbnb in 2020 right now in this environment? Let's get into it. So first I want to start off with how I am doing. As some of you know, I manage several Airbnbs in my local area, and I've been doing it for a couple of years. I love it. It's been great. And then old girl hit, right? The pandemic started. So things went a little helter-skelter. So just to give you an update on how my Airbnb units are doing. So the month of March and April, not gonna lie, were a little rough. It was a little bit of a bloodbath, especially mid-March when the pandemic really hit and travel started to be banned. There were so many cancellations, and Airbnb decided to, cancel a lot of reservations and give guests their money back, which is understandable, but it was kind of rough for us as hosts, right? So that's what happened in March. April had a bit of that as well. But thankfully, towards mid-April, now into May and moving forward, I'm happy to say that with some of the things that we've been doing in my Airbnb business, pretty much all except one of our units are booked, and they're booked with several month bookings. So, anywhere from a month, 2 months, 3 months. I have some that are like 6 months, and they are either renewing at the end of their booking, or they want that option. So that's been great. And the only reason why that one that isn't booked is because the owner that I work with, my client, they just have some specifications on that particular property of the type of guest they're looking for, since it is also the home base. So that's really been good for me, as well as my clients that I manage for, that we are starting to see bookings. Another thing I did in my business is this helped me to focus a lot more and be more discerning on the type of properties that I take on as an Airbnb host. So I did let go of problem properties and problem clients. So like I said, the way that I do Airbnb is I manage for people as well as lease. And I can talk a little bit more about that in other videos, but you want to make sure with whatever you're doing with your short-term rental, you want to be working with properties that are in good shape. Doesn't mean they have to be brand spanking new. You just want to make sure they're in good repair and that you're working with clients who are willing to be good partners, and they're not going to make your job more difficult. So with all of this going on, it really made it clear on, the type of client that I want to work with, the type of properties that I want to work with, and the ones that are the best fit for short-term rental. Next is that we pivoted. So like I said, we were doing your traditional Airbnb model where we're having people book for several nights at a time. All of that has kind of changed with the crisis that we're going through globally. So we've pivoted, and we had been starting to do this already, but we have a lot more mid-term stays instead of short-term stays. So what does that mean? These are people who, like I said before, they're booking for a month, 2 months, whatever the case may be. And we've seen a lot of increase in medical travelers, so nurses, doctors. First of all, thank you all for the amazing job that you're doing during this crisis. But a lot of them are, getting assignments in areas away from where they currently live. And so they need to be in a city for like 3 months at a time for this new hospital assignment they have. So we've seen a lot of that. I've also seen people who are booking because, they were already in transition. They were getting ready to move. They're not sure whether or not they can still move to wherever they were planning to go to, because travel is not as easy as it was before. So they're kind of in a holding pattern and they need a place to stay. So you'd be surprised by how many people still really need some sort of housing on a short-term basis. And so that is where we have pivoted our business. Another thing that we've done since all of this started is we already had really high cleaning standards, but of course right now we've increased that even more. So of course we are disinfecting all of our properties. We're using WHO approved and EPA approved cleaning products. And then we're looking into some other things. We definitely air out all the properties. And another mentor of mine suggested an ozone machine, and that really just kind of disinfects the air in a property. So that's a really cool machine that we're looking into putting into our units as well. So big question, right? should you, talking to you right there, should you start an Airbnb short-term rental in 2020, right now, right here, on this day that you're watching? My answer is yes, right? And the reason why I say that is because I think it's a really good time. So here are a couple reasons. Number one, many people who started this business in the last couple of years over leveraged themselves, right? So Airbnb and short-term rentals has been a great way to make really good money, which has been fantastic. But a lot of people got into this game and they really weren't prepared. They went out and got a lot of leases. So one of the ways that you can do this business without going out and buying property is to lease a property, and with the permission of the landlord, use it for short-term rentals. So a lot of people do that. I've done that myself. But then people were going out and getting all these leases, so many leases, just building and growing so quickly because the money was good. But they were also taking on leases that were really, really expensive. So you had to basically have these high priced units on Airbnb in order to make any profit, which before all of this was happening, even though the market was getting a little crowded, depending on what city you were in, it was still good to go. But one of the reasons why you want to be a bit more conservative is because you just never know what's going to happen around the corner, which nobody saw this happening, but here we are. So the reason why I say this is a good thing is that a lot of those people have had to leave the short-term rental market. They've had to let go of their leases just because not everyone can do this at this time, or they were just really expensive. So you're seeing a lot less competition. And so the reason why that's a good thing is when there's less competition, you can come into the marketplace and you can fill that need that has been left. It's also a great time to learn the business. When there's less competition, you can be more of a student and take your time to learn and grow your business organically at a good pace. I'm not going to say slow. It depends on how quickly you want to grow your business, but it gives you the time to do that. And I think this is a great time. Number two, this environment helps you to be more conservative, in my opinion. So again, going back to what I was talking about, growing so quickly and taking on these really expensive leases, this environment doesn't lend itself to that. So most people are not even going to think to do that. I think you should still get into the business, right? We're not operating in fear, but you can be more conservative. You can look at leases if you're going to do leases, and you are going to make sure they make sense. Also, when you take on clients, you're going to make sure that client makes sense. And you may even want to focus more on managing and partnering with other people versus going out and doing the rental arbitrage method, which is that method with leasing. Not a bad method at all. Like I say, I do it as well, but you want to be really smart about your numbers. They say that you make your money when you buy, right? So same thing, like you want to make sure the numbers make sense initially and there's enough profit margin there. But if you do it smart, you can really do well in this business, in this environment too. Another reason why I think this is a great time to start is that remote work is here to stay, right? We are all working from home, or most of us, right? Some of us are essential, and again, we thank you all for the work that you're doing, but a lot of us are working remotely from home, and so for people who are doing that, some of them actually just need a place to be other than their home to stay, and you can't go to the office. Co-working spaces are not necessarily open, so a short-term rental could be an option. Or maybe you want to actually be remote but in the city that you are working in, so you have people booking for those reasons as well. So that is a great option and a great reason why now is a good time to get started with short-term rentals. And the last reason why I think it's a great time to get started is Millennials and Gen Z. So both of these groups, and I'd say I think I qualify as a elder millennial, but both of these groups really like ready-made things. They like things that are in good quality and good shape. I mean, everyone does, but these groups specifically really like that to be able to move somewhere and it's good to go. It's already prepackaged, it's fully furnished. They don't have to take all this time and energy and effort and money to go out and furnish a property. And especially now, people want things that are going to give them a sense of comfort. And so if they know this is already designed and furnished the way that I like, I don't have to worry about anything. It's been disinfected, it's clean. They have a sense of comfort of coming in and doing that. So that's another thing that short-term rentals, if you're doing it the way that I do it, can provide for people as well. I'm focusing on in this environment and in the future during this pandemic, as well as whenever this ends, whenever that will be. So for me and my business, one of the things I'm focusing on is increasing cash flow. So this has definitely taught us all a lesson that cash on hand is king. It's always been like that, but this made it even more, more important and more of a point. And in business, they say the one thing you should never do is run out of cash. So that's one thing I'm focusing on, putting more money that comes in from the business aside for a rainy day or just to have on hand. What I'm focusing on is streamlining expenses. So again, being conservative and making sure that the things that you're spending on for your business make sense. They're making you dollars and you're not just throwing that money away. So I think it's really important to take a look at all the different things that you're using for your business, software, tools, etc. I use a lot of different things to automate my business, but this is a good time to kind of take a look and make sure that all of those things make sense right now. Also, continuing to focus on quality properties with quality clients and making sure that I'm working with people that we are on the same page about how to run a short-term rental and making sure they're not, we're going to be able to work well together. And then finally, I'm focusing on diversifying my portfolio. So what does that mean? I am not keeping all my eggs in one basket. I love short-term rentals. It's like basically all I ever talk about, but this environment and just in general, you should never really keep all your eggs in one basket. You want to be diversified. So I'm starting to focus on adding stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, all of that to my current portfolio as well. In addition to, the retirement accounts that I've had for a while now. So those are things that I'm doing with my short-term rental business overall. And that's why I really think it's still a great time to get started in Airbnb and short-term rentals. Airbnb has had some ups and downs lately, but a lot of companies have. I still believe in them. But aside from that, I believe in short-term rentals as a great way to make cash flow. If you already have a property or if you're interested in getting one, I think it's a really good way. And I think it's going to be more of a trend of the future. Vacation travel and vacation rentals are down right now, but people still need a place to stay. So that is why I think it's a fantastic time to get started. So if you're interested in learning how I manage my short-term rentals and how I got started and how you really can with a step-by-step process, I do have a free Airbnb class, so you can check that out. It should be in the comments below, so take a look and there'll be a link for that. And then guys, if you liked this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you're interested. I will be sharing a lot more information about short-term rentals, finances, cash flow, and just things generally going on. So I really hope this was a helpful video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. So go ahead and join me on the journey. All right, thanks so much. Do I like Airbnbs? Do you see my Airbnb pashmina? Looks good, doesn't it? Jealous?